So what's your startup about? Well, it's like we're trying to help. Well, it's actually more like we're building a product that's going to be used by, well, not strictly used by them actually. Actually, it's more like it'll be used by their owners, and then the owners will use it like to help the cats lick themselves.
Having a good, clear elevator pitch, that is a one-sentence pitch for your startup, which you can deliver in a few seconds, is essential for both fundraising and just to get clients. Want to learn the secret method to develop your pitch in the next 5 minutes? Keep watching. There are 2 big mistakes new entrepreneurs make when developing their elevator pitch.
The first mistake is to think that an elevator pitch is something that you work on by talking with your co-founders or studying other people's pitches.
Are you getting it?
Or brainstorming in the shower. No.
Especially in the age of Web3 and after the pandemic, people seem to think they can do all this stuff while hiding in their bedroom or even staying anonymous. Here's the first secret. The best and perhaps the only way to develop a great elevator pitch is to go out and tell people about your startup. It's one of the reasons why startup meetups are so helpful. They provide you with an endless supply of people who will not get upset when you introduce yourself with,
"Hi, I'm Daniel from Grantry. We help tech companies with government funding like tax credits, grants, and so on."
And that's something you're going to have to do hundreds of times before your elevator pitch is actually anywhere near done. Every time you tell someone about your startup, study their reaction. Do their eyes glaze over? Do they look like they're thinking about something else? Do they get it? Until your pitch is refined and condensed to the max, chances are at some point while explaining your startup, the conversation will go somewhat off the rails.
That's fine. That's how it works. You try things out in the field, you see what works and see what doesn't, and you adjust.
People like Steve Jobs were great at pitching because they were always pitching to almost everyone they met and carefully observing the reactions they got and adjusting. That's how they became masters at it. The pitch I made earlier for Grantry was the result of years of iteration to find what would get the best reaction from the target audience for my pitch as quickly as possible. Which brings us to the second big mistake. But before I explain that, here's a tip. If you listen to the end of the video, I'll let you in on the secret of why it's important at all to get that elevator pitch just right.
I said this was the best pitch for my target audience. And this is another thing that people don't think about when developing their elevator pitch. A pitch is a sales tool, essentially. We use it to get into conversations that might lead to some kind of outcome that we want. What is that outcome for you? What kind of conversations do you want to end up with? The way you know your elevator pitch is right is it gets you into those kinds of conversations. So the elevator pitch when you're looking for funding is very different from the elevator pitch when you're looking for clients. The Grantry pitch earlier was perfectly designed to get me into conversations with potential clients who might then ask, how can I get a slice of that government funding? If I'd been looking for funding, the pitch would have been completely different.
So it's not enough to test your pitch with lots of people, you also have to test it with the right people.
That's where once again startup meetups tend to shine. Other founders are not exactly like investors, but they're familiar enough with pitching. And in my experience, they do tend to think a bit like investors. So they can provide your first 50 or 100 or 200 rounds of iteration and help get your elevator pitch to be at least not terrible before you approach real investors.
Once you've practiced the pitch 100 or more times and it comes across easily, smoothly, effortlessly, almost like you've done this 100 times already, now you should approach investors and continue iterating. Because actual investors will have different perspectives and motivations than founders, so the elevator pitch will have to evolve.
Which brings us to the core question. Why bother getting good at the elevator pitch?
Well, it's pretty simple actually. Investors get pitched a lot. They use all sorts of heuristics to filter out startups they're not going to fund. Once an investor feels like they probably don't want to fund your startup, you're pretty unlikely to change their mind. And the elevator pitch is often the very first impression you make on them. So if you fumble it or appear unprofessional and unpracticed, the investor may well form a bad impression. And then you'll have to swim against the current for the rest of the conversation to try and get their interest again.
So get out there and practice and iterate in front of real people. That's the only way you're going to get that elevator pitch right. Once you get your pitch right, if the conversation goes really well, you'll want to send them your pitch deck. If so, you want to send them something really good. So watch this video to learn just how to do that in the next 5 minutes.
GM, and good luck!